Welcome back to Directorial Disputes, the podcast where we bring our unpopular film opinions and battle it out to decide whether they're deserving of their unpopular opinion. My name's James.
I'm Josh.
And today, it's an Oscars special. It's awards season, baby. And we're here to weigh in on the results of the Oscars. You know, the big one, I guess.
The big one, yeah.
The big one for most people, I think. I don't think.
I was going to say, a lot of people, I know lots of people who are like, the BAFTAs don't count.
Yeah.
Which, you know, ouch. But at the same time, the Oscars is like the mainstream one, isn't it?
I think the Oscars is the one everyone knows about. You know, you've got the SAG Awards, you've got you know your film festivals, you've got Venice, you've got Cannes, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, Oscars is definitely the Academy has done a great job at selling itself and advertising itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're here to weigh in on a little bit on this year's Oscars. What did you make of it? Did you watch it live? Did you catch up?
I unfortunately did not watch it live because I had work.
I mean,
I had work the next day, so I didn't watch it live, and I couldn't find it on anything either. So I had to just kind of like the highlights awards thing. Good one. Yeah, the highlights program wasn't on until like 7 o'clock the next day, and I wasn't gonna wait, so I just kind of had to go through Twitter. I mean, I went on their website. I went on the Academy website and looked through the list, and then watched some of the clips of the acceptance speeches.
I think in reality that's the way a lot of people do it, isn't it?
Yeah, but
especially in this country.
Yeah, this is the first time in 2 or 3 years where I've not watched it live.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, the fact that it's on a Sunday doesn't help.
Yeah, that doesn't help. I mean, I've been lucky enough to be at uni the last few times and not had like 9 a.m. lectures.
Freedom.
So that meant that I didn't really matter. Whereas now, you know, I don't have that luxury. So, but nothing major happened this year. There was
no fighting, no slaps.
Fighting. Yeah,
their crisis team did their job.
Yeah. So I didn't really. If something like that happened again, then I think I would have been annoyed I didn't watch it live. But as nothing major happened, I'm fine with having catched up afterwards.
All in all, it was good. I did stay up and watch it, even though I did have work, because I'm committed. I'm just happy to function on very little sleep for the sake of watching it. And I had a free week the previous week, so had energy to spare.
Fair.
I'm glad I watched it. I think I have to say, before we get onto the actual awards and who won and etc. I think the Oscars. I think there are some things they did this year that were very good, and I think there are some things that just need to go. So
right.
I don't know if you saw watching highlights. They for certain categories. So for costume, the presenters would walk out, and then they had some of the costumes from all of the films behind them.
Oh. No, I didn't. I didn't see
that was a really nice thing. So you've got like Miss Harry's Go to Paris was there.
Yeah.
Who else was it? Wakanda Forever was there. They had some of the costumes in the back, and that was really nice because it meant that obviously for those people who hadn't seen the film, or even for those that had, it was a reminder of these are the sort of costumes that are being nominated. And they did the same for editing. Like they had a thing where they walked out and they had an actor behind cutting up film and gluing it together and stuff like that. I thought that was nice. That was a nice touch. But I will say, please, this is a letter to the Academy. Please stop doing like musical performances and stuff, because it's not the Super Bowl. I don't care about whoever.
I was going to say, I think it's to pad out the show, isn't it? And it's. I don't know. I think it's to make it more of an event, right? Because if it was from their point of view, if all they did was right. Here's a list of people who have now won awards. Goodbye, everybody. The show would be like 15 minutes long, and no one would watch.
Which I don't know. See, the thing is, it's odd because honestly, the host. So the host this year was it Jimmy Kimmel? I think it was. It might be Jimmy Fallon. I don't know. They're
one of them.
Yeah, one of those. They were hosting, and the running joke was that the Oscars is very long. That was the joke this year.
Right.
It's not long. It's 3 hours. But, we could cut that time down if you want to stop calling it so long by taking out the
quote-unquote comedic bits.
Yeah, not the comedic bits. They can stay, like the little talks to camera. That's
Yeah.
to keep it cohesive. But just I don't need the singing. I don't need the performances. Like Rihanna performed, and I know she performed a song from Wakanda Forever, but I don't care. Literally, those are the bits where my partner and I watched it. Those are the parts where I get up and go, right, I'm gonna go get a cup of tea.
Yeah, that was from when I've actually watched it live. I do get where you're coming from, but they've always done it though, right? It's been a staple.
yeah,
Well, not always, but like I've seen clips from like the
years.
'80s Oscars where they've done musical bits.
Yeah, I think it's about making overselling the Oscars, overplaying its part. But so this year there was no drama.
Well, the only recent drama has been that a certain emotional support donkey wasn't actually the donkey from the film.
Is outrageous. Honestly,
yeah.
I'm so disappointed. But I think it's only right that we go through some of the some of the big awards of the night. Obviously, we'll touch on some particularly notable ones. So the animated feature kicked off the night.
Okay.
And we had Turning Red, The Sea Beast, Puss in Boots, Marcel the Shell, and Pinocchio all up for it. And Guillermo del Toro obviously took the award.
Yeah.
I am conflicted because I've not seen all of them. So I've not seen Puss in Boots and I've not seen The Sea Beast.
Gasp. Honestly, so out of my favourite one of all the ones on the list, Puss in Boots, my lord, was that I kind of went into that film, I was like, it's going to be fun, sure, and I'd seen the trailers and I was like, it looks really good. I think if by the looks of new films that are coming out, Spider-Verse really did something crazy by starting a trend in cinema that I'm not sure can be kind of extorted, or I'm sure they'll find a way eventually. But you know how like one film does an art style and then everything looks like that, and then everything just looks bad. I think with this though, because I mean we've got obviously another Spider-Verse movie coming out. We've had Puss in Boots, the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. They're all having their own unique styles and looking different, and that's good. I'm not saying that Puss in Boots necessarily was. I wasn't like, oh my god, it's gonna win. I would have liked it if it did.
Well, I think it's. Do you think it's that sort of aspect of when you go into a film and you have no expectations at all, and it just blows you?
Blows your mind. Because I wasn't a huge fan of the first Puss in Boots film, if I'm honest. And
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure there were many people that were.
I know a lot of people that like that film.
Oh god.
I mean, if we're being frank about it, there hasn't been a good Shrek movie since the second one, as much as I like 3 for its own reasons.
And Shrek 2 really outdid itself.
Yeah, and honestly, I would say that Puss in Boots: The Last Wish is level with Shrek 2 for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when I said you need to see that film, I'm saying
I will. It will.
It's still on at the cinema
to the top of the list. Yeah, we will.
It is still
make
on.
sure that happens. I mean, I was a bit conflicted because I've seen both Marcel the Shell and Pinocchio. Pinocchio I saw first. Obviously, it's on Netflix. Watched it at home.
Yeah.
And my lord, is Guillermo del Toro a good director? My man knows what he's doing. Has a great way of approaching stories in a way that is digestible, but doesn't shy away from problematic aspects. Yeah. I mean, the film's all about fascism, and it's sort of branded as a children's film. I mean, it's not a children's film. It's a film that children can watch. But the film deals with fascism, and you're like, excuse me? What?
Yeah, I had people at work, because obviously they know I've, studied film at uni and stuff, where they'd come in, they're like, I watched that new Pinocchio film and that wasn't at all what I was expecting. We turned it off and got, I'm like, well, I just don't, because it's a Del Toro movie. I think general audience.
Well, he said that it's the final in the trilogy of Pan's Labyrinth. What's the other one?
Shape of Water?
Yes, Shape of Water, and then Pinocchio. All dealing with similar-ish issues, surprisingly enough.
Okay.
But I can see why some people might be a bit surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Pan's Labyrinth. I love Shape of Water. I haven't seen Pinocchio, I must admit, but from what I have seen of it, looks really good. And I think from the outset, when I saw the nominees, I was like, yeah, Pinocchio's gonna win. There's no way about it.
Yeah.
Marcel the Shell, I still haven't managed to get around to seeing yet. I've seen clips. I've seen the original short films.
So I went and saw Marcel the Shell after the Oscars.
Okay.
I went and saw it only a few days ago. And honestly, it was so good. I loved it. It was wholesome. It was warm. It was funny. But it has some really funny commentary on the documentary format. I think Marcel says something along the lines of explaining to his nana what's happening, and he goes, "Oh, they're making a documentary. It's like a normal film, but no one really knows what's going to happen or has any plans or anything like that." So, and it's great. It's so funny and so interesting. When I saw it, I was surprised with the amount of children in the cinema. I know it looks like a kids' film, but it's an A24 film, and I'm not sure A24 make children's films. It does have a PG certificate, and I have to say, all of the kids had very positive reactions to it. There's some happy bits, there's some not so happy bits, and it seemed to land well. And I personally really enjoyed it. And so it has a very soft spot. I mean, Marcel the Shell itself he's a very cute character. Yeah. So it certainly has a soft spot for me. So that's why I was a bit like, Pinocchio is really good and is beautiful and is an incredible film, but I have a really soft spot for Marcel the Shell. But Pinocchio won, and I'm willing to accept that. Next in the night, we had Best Supporting Actor, which I think was, of all of the films, all of the awards from the evening, the one that got the biggest cheer.
I'm so happy. I am.
Yes, obviously, Ki Hei Kwan won for Everything Everywhere All at Once for playing Waymond. And I don't think there's many complaints there, I'll be honest.
No, I don't think there's anyone in that. I mean, so out of the other films that were nominated, the only one I've seen is Banshees.
Yes.
But I think, I mean, I shouldn't kind of just go, well, he does, like, if you compare all of the performances, yes, I still think he did the best job. But at the same time, there is also that added element of we all just kind of were rooting for him anyway.
It's the story, isn't it?
Yeah.
People love the story. And there's we'll talk about it later. There's another award which obviously had the story behind it. And
definitely. There's definitely. I would say there's two. But yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, there is.
Yeah.
There's the. But I think I was definitely pleased to see this win, and I think a lot of people were. I think the only thing is I loved the Banshees of Inisherin. I loved Barry Keoghan's character as well. So I was a bit disappointed, but I think the moment I saw Key win the Oscar, I was like, cool, this is Everything Everywhere All at Once's night. Like,
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
This is the same way that the Banshees of Inisherin was had its night at the BAFTAs.
Yeah.
The Oscars was the night of Everything Everywhere All at Once. So I don't think there were many complaints there. Now, Best Supporting Actress.
This is the only.
I think it's a bit of a contentious one.
Minor controversy, because I think we can all agree that they got the right film, but they didn't get the right actress.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
I'm happy because this is her first Oscar, right?
Yeah, so Jamie Lee Curtis obviously won for Everything Everywhere All at Once, where she is known, where it seems just all the clips that I see now circulating are her with hot dog fingers, which is great. And she definitely seemed on the night as if she wasn't remotely expecting to win, but I think there's definitely an argument that Stephanie Hsu should have won. I think a lot of people are arguing that Jamie Lee Curtis's role was almost a glorified cameo, which
it
kind of was. I think after I saw the film the first time and I hadn't had any reference material when people were saying that, I was like, oh, maybe it wasn't. Then I rewatched it. I went, actually, she does have quite a big part in this film.
Yeah.
But I still think Stephanie Hsu was brilliant in that film.
Yeah.
Brilliant performance. Had some brilliant moments. More than Jamie Lee Curtis did. But as you said, this is Jamie Lee Curtis's first Oscar.
I have a feeling that there were people who voted Academy-wise that kind of went, should we just give it to her because she doesn't have one?
Yeah, it feels a little bit Leonardo DiCaprio, doesn't it?
Yeah, because again, when it was DiCaprio's Oscar, I would say that's probably not his best. I mean, I don't like that film personally,
No, me neither.
but it kind of, it definitely came across as, all right, we'll give him it. Like,
Yeah,
you know?
I think I've seen a couple of people saying it, and I definitely agree that I think in however many years we're going to be looking back and go, oh yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis, Oscar winner. Oh, she won for Everything Everywhere All at Once, and not something else.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably for me the most contentious decision of the evening.
Yeah, because I've seen all the films. I think this is one of the few categories where I've seen all of the films, and I'm not gonna say I was about to say I don't know if she had the weakest performance. Not to say it's bad, because it's not. They all did amazingly. There's a reason they are all nominated. But
yeah, absolutely.
in comparison, I
Yeah,
feel
I would
like
say-
her role kind of had less to do in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. I've not seen Wakanda Forever, and I have no intention of seeing it.
It wasn't amazing, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Angela Bassett was great in it, but
Yeah.
the film itself...
Yeah. But Hong Chau in The Whale, brilliant.
Yep.
Kerry Condon, amazing in The Banshees of Inisherin. And yeah, like you say, I think probably Jamie Lee Curtis had the least to do in the films generally.
Yeah.
And then I think the next biggest award was Best Cinematography.
Right,
and
okay, yeah.
this is again, it's been a bit of contention all through this award season.
Yeah.
People seem to be arguing that the academies for both BAFTA and the Oscars have a bit of a hard on for war films.
It's that, and did you see the interview with Roger Deakins about the film that was snubbed for cinematography, that wasn't even nominated, but should have won?
I did not.
I'm guessing it was an Oscar thing anyway. I know Roger Deakins has just done
Empire of Light.
Yes, and so he's been doing press for that. And he said that the Batman, it's a crime that the Batman wasn't even nominated, let alone didn't win.
Yeah,
and I've seen lots of things on Twitter, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, yeah, you know what? I would have been happy if it just got nominated. You know?
Yeah, honestly, I don't expect it to win. The issue, the problem I have here is that as much as I do think it's I think the Academy or just general award academies have a particular bias for two things: biopics and war films.
Right.
Which is why it's no surprise that Elvis was nominated for a lot of things. But quite surprising that it didn't win very much.
Did it win anything?
I think it won something along the lines of costume. Oh no, it didn't. It might not have won anything. Did it win sound? No, it didn't. Oh no.
I was going to say, I'm on the website at the minute. Yeah, also, I do have something that I filmed that, again, I don't know even... I'm hoping it made, like, the long list, even if it didn't make the short list.
What's that?
After Sun.
Yes.
Wasn't nominated
for
for cinematography, and I am beyond annoyed.
That was one of my biggest complaints of the night, and it was not something that was unexpected because, shortlists came out and I knew who was nominated.
Yeah.
But After Sun was nominated for so little.
Yeah.
I mean, they had a Best Actor nomination,
which cool, but at the same time,
Paul Mescal I would have loved to have seen win Best Actor, but I
yeah,
mean, obviously this wasn't the popular vote, and I think that's something that's definitely been discussed about this year's Oscars. Is have the Oscars gone for the popular vote this year?
Well, the fact that a Marvel film won an Oscar, which I don't think is the first time they've won an Oscar. I want to say the first Black Panther won for Best Song, right?
Yeah.
But again, I see what you mean.
I mean, it's a bit of an argument. I think, like you say, After Sun was incredible, one of my top films of the year for sure. Yeah. And to not see it nominated for anything really was very disappointing. Especially, I mean, I'm not surprised. It did okay at the BAFTAs. Obviously, the Banshees of Inisherin sort of overtook it in a lot of ways. Yeah. But to see it not really do anything at the Oscars was really unfortunate. But I mean, the one that no one expected to do very well in all awards is All Quiet on the Western Front.
And it won. I was gonna say it won. What did it win at the BAFTAs? It won like best film, right? Like best.
Well, it did. It did the sweep. Yeah, it did. Yeah. It did effectively the sweep at the BAFTAs, just behind Banshees of Inisherin.
Which is kind of crazy. I mean, I watched the film. I liked the film.
Yeah.
But the fact that it sweeped at the BAFTAs and then didn't really get much at the Oscars is interesting, because normally they kind of follow the same whatever wins at the BAFTAs wins at the Oscars kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me that... I mean, I'm assuming this isn't the first time this has happened, but where they are very different.
Yeah. Well, I saw something somewhere saying that this is the first award season since 2017 where biopics, or biopics, depends how you want to say it. I say biopic.
A biopic, yeah.
Haven't won Best Picture, I believe, or a major award at the BAFTAs or the Oscars.
Yeah.
Because people love that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's certainly a year where the BAFTAs and the Oscars haven't really aligned. I think as much as we expect the BAFTAs and Oscars to sort of differ a little bit, obviously BAFTAs celebrating British cinema.
Yeah.
To see things, like I say, to see After Sun not do anything, not even make a move at the Oscars is disappointing.
Yeah, it's... I don't know, because I saw it very late on in comparison. But yeah, no, I do think it should have... Out of all of the awards, I think cinematography should have been up there.
But I think so. Obviously, the next few were All Quiet on the Western Front. Again, great movie. Not sure it was that good. It was great, but in terms of cinematography, brilliant. I think it won makeup as well. Stuff like that. Very, very good. I have to say, something that has come out of the Oscars that I am quite disappointed about is that I now have to refer to Avatar: The Way of the Water as an Oscar winner.
Oh, yeah, but it was so obvious that there was no other film that was going to beat that for visual effects.
Well,
it would have been criminal if any other film had have won for visual effects.
I think what you mean is it would have been hilarious. Imagine
if,
the budget that film had.
I was going to say, looking at visual effects, if Wakanda Forever had won for visual effects, a film that is part of a franchise where the effects have got worse every film had have won the Oscar for visual effects.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think James Cameron would have full on put himself in a submarine, sent himself down to the bottom of the ocean, and never come back up again.
They announced it, and I was like, yeah, it's gonna be that one. It's gonna be Avatar. No way that Avatar can't win it, really. And then I think the next major one, obviously, other than Everything Everywhere All at Once doing the big sweep, getting Best Director, Best Editing. Yeah. It did Best did it get Best Original Screenplay?
Everything.
Yes.
Yeah, it did.
And then we've got, obviously, the next big one. We have Best Actor, which is The Story again, isn't it?
Yeah, really? It's one of 3 long time coming stories of the night.
Absolutely.
I am, again, so happy that Brendan Fraser won for Best Actor.
Absolutely. I think everyone is. I think it would be difficult to find someone who isn't. I think as much as The Whale is a good film, I think there are some certainly problematic elements in its depiction of obesity and eating and stuff like that. But Brendan Fraser, incredible performance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Again, I think I will say the only person who I didn't want to win the Oscar was Austin Butler. And that's nothing against Austin Butler. I'm just tired of seeing biopic actors win
I know what you mean.
Oscars.
Yep.
It's very, very easy. Like Gary Oldman for Darkest Hour and stuff like that. You go in, really?
Yeah.
It seems very simple, doesn't it? But I think Brendan Fraser, such a wholesome guy. I don't think anyone was unhappy to see him up there.
No, I think once you had, Best Supporting Actor with that amazing, so when in the morning after I watched the speeches, I watched the supporting actor, and when he's like, "Mom, I got the," I was emotional at best.
Yeah.
And then obviously Brendan Fraser going up there, something that
I was surprised. I have to say, I was surprised he didn't cry.
Yeah, he got very. He
very
almost
close.
did. He got very close. But just seeing like the fact that for I'm not going to go into it, but for the reasons he left Hollywood for a long time, and the fact that he's now back. I don't know if you've seen the clips where apparently they saw each other at one of the awards and they're like, "We're still here after all," and I don't know. I think out of anything, if to sum up this Oscars, wholesome, I think is the word to sum up this year, and I think we need that,
Yeah, I think after the last few years, definitely needed.
Yeah.
We'll get into the other Oscars soon, where this sort of places in amongst those.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's safe to say it's certainly better than last year's, but we'll touch on that in a minute. So, obviously, brilliant to see Brendan Fraser win, and then it was Best Actress.
Again, I wanted this so bad. Like,
yeah,
I am
Michelle
so
Yeoh
happy. I am so
taking
happy.
it. Brilliant speech again. Again, it was almost set in stone from every other award that Everything Everywhere All at Once had won in the night. It would have been criminal.
Yep.
To give it to someone else. I think the only point of I think the only issues I've seen people taking are with the fact that Cate Blanchett wasn't awarded. I haven't seen Tar, but obviously there's such a discussion around Tar of how brilliant it is and how brilliant Cate Blanchett is. But I think Michelle Yeoh deserves the Oscar this year. I think it was, again, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Brilliant film.
Yeah.
Brilliant take by Michelle Yeoh.
Mm-hmm. Again, she's an actress that I've kind of been aware of since I was really young, because she's in one of the Bond movies, and that's the one that I used to watch over and over and over again as a kid. So yeah, no, she's just kind of. She's been there with me throughout my childhood. So yeah, to see her win that, I just, so happy.
It is brilliant, and obviously after that, the big moment that everyone knows about, Everything Everywhere All at Once, taking Best Picture.
Yep.
And seeing everyone come up on stage, was brilliant, and I think one of the things I've seen people saying online is this Oscars should certainly give hope and encouragement to up and coming directors or filmmakers or people who just like making cinema, because a film that when it was released was not or wouldn't have been remotely expected to win an Oscar or even be in the conversation at the Oscars has won almost everything at the Oscars. What did it take? Seven awards in total out of its 11 nominations.
Yeah, I think it's now, if you're counting any awards in general, it is now the most awarded film. Because before it was Return of the King, because it won 11 out of 11 Oscars, I think, didn't it? Or 12. 11 or 12 Oscars, and then it won loads of other awards after that. But Everything Everywhere has now beat that record. It's I don't know the exact number, but it's basically won at everything it's been nominated for.
And like I say, it's great to see something a bit different win at the Oscars.
Yeah.
Not something that has to be depressingly sad or incredibly moving. Like, the film itself is moving. Like, I watched it recently and was like, bro, this film still gets me choked up.
I'm gonna make a admission here that I've only ever seen it once. I only saw it at the cinema. I've bought it. It's out on a Blu-ray on my shelf. I imported it from Germany.
I was going to say, where have you bought it from? There is not a UK release.
There's not a UK release. I imported it from Germany, so that does mean I have to have the subtitles on the entire time. It is in English. It's a Region 2 disc, so it plays. But me and a bunch of friends have planned to watch it.
You've got to rewatch it. I mean, even if you can't rewatch it via your imported.
No, it is on.
tender.
It's on
Amazon at the
Prime
minute.
Video. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and that's how I rewatched it. It's just one of those films that I think, despite being moving and being touching, it has that fun element that it's very rare that I see an Oscar winner or Best Picture winner and I'm like, oh, I'll just pop that on. They're never.
Yeah, it's not an Oscar movie. Like it's not your class like a Darkest Hour where it's like, oh well, that was made to win an awards. You know,
it's one of those films where it's interesting enough and exciting enough and has moments where it's almost possible to be casual viewing, whilst also touching on big existential issues and other similar topics. Which makes it so watchable. And I think that's why people are happy that it managed to get as far as it did at this year's Oscars.
And I think the only issue that people have had with that winning Best Picture was the acceptance speech by the producer, who I believe said something along. I'm guessing he meant to say about putting people before profits, but accidentally said it the other way around.
Profits before people, yeah. I did notice that.
Yeah. So if that doesn't sum up Hollywood, I don't know what does.
I mean, he hit the nail on the head there, really, didn't he? So where do you think over the last three or so years, so take it back to 2020, recent enough, where do you think this ranks?
I was going to say, I'm on the website right now and I'm clicking through. I think 2021 was, for me personally, bit of a dull year. I'm gonna say it because it was like Nomadland and Mank and Sound of Metal. Another Round, which a lot of these felt they're good, but I'm like I didn't really. So for Best Picture, Nomadland, The Father, Judas and the Messiah, Mank, Minari, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, Trial of Chicago. It's a very Oscars year. It's nothing jumps out, if you know what I mean.
It's a tough one. I think I would say certainly 2022 and 2021 are a bit odd in terms of Oscars. I mean, both of them had their own controversy. I'm happy enough with nominations. I mean, I would have loved if at 2021 Another Round had won far more because I love that film.
Yeah, I love that film as well.
But it had 2021 was the year that Chadwick Boseman was nominated for Best Actor.
And then didn't win.
Yeah, they held it to the very end.
And we all kind of went,
it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And then they announced Anthony Hopkins, which was an interesting choice.
Weird, because I was watching it with people who aren't necessarily like, we went to uni, we studied film, and whereas they are just people who like films.
Yeah.
And even they were like, yeah, okay, he's gonna win that, and then it happened, and we were like, and then the show just kind of ended.
Yeah.
And it was just a really weird. And I don't know if that was a matter of like, oh, he was gonna win, but then he passed away, and then they changed it. Because
that would make no sense.
Exactly, like why?
Well,
why change it to the end?
It was particularly odd because Anthony Hopkins wasn't even there.
Yeah,
he was zoomed in, which is great, but it was odd decisions. And obviously, last year had all its controversies with assaults on stage that haven't been taken anywhere because you can't see Will Smith.
No.
Just a word to any of our listeners. If any of you think that Will Smith was right in what he did, you can stop listening to the podcast. You can leave. You can delete Spotify or YouTube or whatever it is that you're listening, and just never listen to the podcast again because you are, quite frankly, wrong. But I think again, last year, a bit of a nothing.
Yeah, looking at last year, I think I went into that with like, as long as No Time to Die wins the song, I don't really care what happens. And as always, it won the song. I'm like, cool, I'm happy. I can go to bed now. Like, I didn't obviously. I watched it live, but there wasn't overly any categories I was like, oh, I hope this film wins. Obviously, I do my, like everyone, I think, I do my little bingo sheet of like, I hope this wins, I hope this wins.
Yeah, you've got to have it.
But there wasn't anything that I was like really clinging on to.
I think, again, last year, I think the only thing which obviously we differ on is that I was excited to win things was Dune. Just because I'd enjoyed it so much. That and The Power of the Dog. But other than that, it was a bit of a meh year.
It was a bit of a meh year, yeah.
I think overall controversy...
Take that controversy out, it was like one of the most forgettable years.
Absolutely. So, obviously, like, I feel like, to our listeners, I could ask you, who won supporting actress, and I know you're looking at it right now, but I know for a
I've
fact you didn't
scrolled
remember.
far up, and I've got no idea. I don't even know.
Do you want to take a guess?
Not a clue.
Jessica Chastain, exactly. Like, do you know what she won for?
No.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's she won for. Oh no, my apologies. Oh no, she did. It was last year. Was on the wrong one. She won for.
Eyes of Tammy Faye. There we go.
Yeah,
that's in a leading. Yeah, actually in a leading role. Just Chastain. Eyes of Tammy Faye. Yeah, no, no, not a clue. I was gonna say. I feel like the most. You're gonna have to go back to 2020 to get a memorable Oscars year.
And that's the thing. I
and
think,
that's because it was Parasite.
Yeah, that, and I think equally, I think 2020 all in all had the more not exciting year, but had the bigger year for nominations. We had Marriage Story.
Yeah.
We had Little Women. You've got interesting, even in the animated category, you've got things like, I know Toy Story 4 won, not my choice. But you've got Klaus, you've got I Lost My Body, really interesting stuff. Cinematography, you've got 1917. The Lighthouse.
That's one of the first years that I think I was rooting for, not the film, but one of like the people for an award. Because I was like, Roger Deakins so deserves an Oscar.
Absolutely.
And, obviously he won it. It was great. But yeah, like...
And I think all in all, it's tough for me because I think it is, as odd as it sounds to say it, I think 2020 was a... how can I phrase this? The Oscars are often nominate things which are a bit out there and aren't necessarily the most popular films. Like, they're not the most mainstream, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think 2020 was a year of... good films, like amazing films winning awards, but they're not the films that the mainstream audiences had seen. If you asked how many people before the Oscars had seen Parasite, not many of the public could say they had.
No.
And so I think 2020 has to sit first or second in terms of rankings for me, but I think taking up either of those spaces as well has to be this year. I would say purely down to the level of wholesome, I'm going to put this 2023 as the top, 2020 second, and then I'm going to put last year's in third purely on the basis of drama, and then 2021 in fourth. A bit of a nothing year.
Because it's such, as we've just established, such a forgettable year. And I'm sure there'll be people out there being like, no, what do you mean, this one and this one? And I'm like, yeah, there were good awards and like good, things that won. But the fact that I'm like, there's nothing that jumps out at me.
I have to agree. I think that order is I think it's the only order, really. I think, if anything, 2020 even might have to sit equal with this year purely for the picture of Bong Joon-ho making his Oscars kiss.
Yeah, absolutely. I take that and give you it's not a picture, it's the little clip of when they have, like, we'll get out the actors that won, and it's Brendan Fraser kind of, like, putting his to camera, and then... he screaming in the background.
Yes,
actually, no,
honestly.
he screams to camera, and I think that paired with when Everything Everywhere won for Best Picture, as everyone was going up to stage and the camera kind of panned up, you see him like jump and hug Harrison Ford, and I was like, that's adorable.
Wholesome, honestly, this year is definitely the wholesome year, and I think as much as there are some complaints and some issues, I think the Academy have done quite well this year, all in all. Yeah. I think the only thing that I would say, probably to finish on, is, dear the Academy, please stop giving people Oscars for the sake of giving people Oscars. Please just give the Oscar to the person who deserves it for the performance they're nominated for.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good place to end on.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening. welcome back for season 2. We're here. We're ready to go. We're raring.
Yeah.
If you want to follow us online, you can find us at...
Our Twitter and our TikTok is at DisputePod, and our Instagram is Directorial_Disputes.
So follow us there, let us know your opinions, let us know what you think about the Oscars, or just film in general. Tell us your horrendous opinions, because, my lord, we know that you've got some, just like we do. All in all, I've been James, and thank you for listening.
I'm Josh, and I will see you on the next episode.
Bye!
Bye!